Our very first video is about the most amazing micro creature which have the most amazing scientific traits, and these microorganism is called tardigrades. Now, what are tardigrades? Basically, they are microscopic creatures that have managed to survive on this earth for over 600 million years. Tardigrades can be found almost anywhere on earth, from top of the Himalayas mountain range to the bottom of the sea, from icy Antarctica to the bubbling hot spring. Another important aspect of the study of tardigrade is that these organisms can survive in extreme high and low temperature that would kill other organisms. Some species can survive exposure to minus 272 degrees centigrade, while other can withstand temperature of up to 150 degrees centigrade. Tardigrades eat bacteria, plants, or even other tardigrades. They pierce individual cells of their prey and suck on their contents for nutrients. Tardigrades have survived extreme heats and cold, and also have the ability to dry out and come back to life. For this reason, they are being studied by scientists. Their unique abilities could be used to preserve other biological materials such as blood cells in blood banks, or towards engineering crops that can resist extreme temperatures. Can tardigrades survive without water? Without access to water, a tardigrade will curl up into a dry ball called a tun. Their body systems slow down so much that the tiny animals can survive like this for decades. Scientists call this extreme type of hibernation cryptobiosis. When they are exposed to water, tardigrades can come back to life in just a few hours. Once, when dried moss that had been in a museum for 100 years was moistened, tardigrades inside the moss came crawling out totally fine. Now let's know about the ability of tardigrades to survive in space. It is interesting to note that tardigrades haven't only survived extreme conditions on Earth, they are the first animals to survive the vacuum, that means no air, radiation blast and freezing temperature of space. One such example is that of year 2007, where a dehydrated tardigrade was taken up into orbit and exposed to the vacuum and radiation of space for 10 days. On return to the Earth, over 2/3 of them were successfully revived. Many died relatively soon after, but were still able to reproduce beforehand. Yet, another example of tardigrades' ability to survive in extreme environment was discovered by researchers at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore in October 2020. The team found that a new species of tardigrade that they were studying about, that is Boniato, which is capable of protecting itself from a potentially lethal blast of ultraviolet radiations by forming a protective glowing shield. They simply absorb the harmful ultraviolet radiation and then emit it as harmless blue light. The dehydrated mode of tardigrade is an amazing aspect for scientific study too. If a tardigrade is dehydrated and loses up to 99% of its water content, its living process can be mere suspended for several years before being brought back to life. In its dehydrated states, it is known as tun. As mentioned earlier, a tun's metabolism lowers to as little as 0.1% of its original rate. Now let's study about the tardigrades on the moon, which is quite an intriguing factor too. In 2019, the Israeli lunar lander crashed onto the moon's surface, thus bringing its mission to an abrupt end. But part of its cargo contained a colony of tardigrades who scientists believe are extremely likely to have survived the impact. After all the amazing traits of tardigrades, this topic merits a question as to why tardigrades must be studied from a scientific perspective, and what benefit can scientific community derive from it for the betterment of humanity. So the answer would be that tardigrades are helping scientists rethink what they know about what it takes to survive in extreme conditions and what humans might need to survive on other planets. Also, yeast and bacteria can be protected from dehydration by encoding them into the tardigrade genes for producing TDPs. This method could be used to produce crops that can survive droughts or medication that doesn't need refrigeration. Isn't that interesting?